Hey guys, it's Cece, and today I am here to talk about queer releases. So yeah, I'm very sorry that this is late, but I am here now. I'm going to be talking about all of the queer books that I am personally anticipating from April to June. And if you're watching this any day but the day it uploaded, it's possible some of these release dates are going to be wrong, if I'm being real with you. While I was in the process of planning this video, multiple release dates got delayed, including Cemetery Boys, which is one of my most hyped releases of the year. That got moved to September. So if you are watching this and it is not currently April of 2020 and I got a release date wrong, I'm sorry. It most likely means that the release date was shifted due to stuff going on in the world. I am here to give you the best look that I can of the queer releases I'm personally anticipating, and this is going to be 50 books in one video. Holy shit! This video is also going to include all age groups of publishing except for like children's books. I have some middle grade books to talk about, young adult, new adult, adult releases. I'm covering everything that I can. There are 50 books to talk about. It's still not everything. Please check the resources in the description if you want to learn more about other queer titles, but that is going to be my full intro because I've got to start talking about books right now. First up, on April 7th, we had one of my most anticipated releases of the entire year. Check Please Book 2, Sticks and Scones by Ngozi Ukazu. This is the much anticipated sequel to Check Please #Hockey, and it follows Eric Biddy, our main character, who is gay and just starting his first year at Samwell University when he joins the Samwell men's hockey team. It's one of my favorite series in the world and is now completed. You can also read the entirety of Check Please online entirely for free. That will be in the description as well. Next up, we have The Subtweet by Vivek Shraya, which was also released on April 7th. This is about friendship in the modern age, and especially within the music industry. It's about two people who connect over their music, become fast friends, and then one tweet kind of ruins everything and puts them at the center of a media storm. Both of these main characters are South Asian Canadians. One is a trans woman, one is a cis woman, and I'm really eager to read this one. Our last April 7th release was Bonds of Brass by Emily Skrutskie. Bonds of Brass has gotten a ton of early hype because it is basically a book that is and is not about Finn and Poe from the new Star Wars trilogy. It's about a pilot who saves the man he loves, only to find out that the man he loves is the heir to an intergalactic evil empire. This has two bisexual boys as main characters in a possible male-male romance, and based on the cover we can assume that there is at least one black main character and one Latinx main character. Next, on April 14th, I want to talk about Elysium Girls by Kate Pentecost. This is set in Elysium, Oklahoma, near the end of the Dust Bowl, and it is a fantasy where one day dust soldiers arrive, and it turns out there's not one god, but two gods, sisters, the god of life and the god of death. So this is a Dust Bowl YA fantasy with an understated FF romance, as I understand it. So I'm not sure how the main character identifies, but there is a sapphic main character, and this sounds like such a unique book. Next up, on April 14th, we had the release of The Prettiest Star by Carter Sickles. This sounds like a beautiful and heartbreaking novel, so please go in knowing that this heavily covers the AIDS epidemic, and specifically this is a book that covers kind of a time period that hasn't been covered a ton in fiction. It's about men with AIDS returning to their rural communities to die. So this has 3 points of view. One of those is a gay man returning to his hometown in Appalachia, and it's going to be kind of a heartbreaking one, but also one that's been getting a ton of early hype. Moving on April 14th, we also had Sugar Summer by Hannah Moskowitz, and it is a lesbian retelling of Dirty Dancing. So we have a lesbian main character with a slow build FF relationship. There's also a trans guy who's a side character, and our main character is also Jewish, so know that as well. I'm very eager to read this. Next up, I want to mention a book that's coming out on April 21st, and that is Kept Animals by Kate Milken. This is the story of a girl on a ranch in California in the 90s and how she was involved with another girl in her community that led to some kind of tragic magic, fire. The book is narrated by that woman's daughter as she is kind of delving into this mystery, but Rory Ramos is our main character whose story that we are mainly following, and she is a lesbian, and there's potential for a female-female romance. Sorry, I had to shift the camera a little bit. Next, I wanted to talk about Rick by Alex Gino. Rick is a new middle grade book that I know a lot of people have been excited about. Alex Gino previously wrote the middle grade book George, which is about a young trans girl coming out wanting to play the role of Charlotte in Charlotte's Web. This is a companion novel. It's set a couple of years after George, and it follows a main character named Rick. This is a book about acceptance and love. It's about a young kid joining a rainbow spectrum community, learning about so many different identities, and Rick is questioning where he might fall on the aromantic and asexual spectrums. I know a ton of people have been excited for Rick, and I am definitely amongst those people. Also on April 21st, we have In the Role of Bree Hutchins by Nicole Melby. This is another middle grade book. It's about Bree Hutchins, who has big plans for 8th grade, and then her mother walks in while she is looking at some possibly inappropriate photos of her favorite actress, and in order to distract her, Bree says that she's been chosen to crown the Mary statue during the May crowning ceremony, which isn't true at all. She's not even in the running, so Bree starts to get close to the girl who has the best shot at being the one to crown the Mary statue, and in doing so starts to fall for this girl. We also have Late to the Party by Kate Quinlan. This has a lesbian main character. This is about a 17-year-old girl named Cody who has really never gotten involved in any kind of social life at school, and then her best friends convince her to crash a party, and Cody walks in on a guy kissing another guy. He's like one of the cool kids, so Cody's taken aback by this, and this guy takes Cody under his wing. Basically, this is like the queer guy, queer girl solidarity I need in my life. Like I said, this has a white lesbian main character. There are also some significant side characters who are queer and who are people of color. The last April 21st release that I want to talk about is Verona Comics by Jennifer Dugan. It follows a guy, Ridley, and a girl, Jubilee, and Jubilee's parents own this indie comic shop, and Ridley's parents own, like, the biggest comic shop chain in the world, and the two happen to meet and they start to fall for each other, but their parents hate each other, so they kind of have to keep it a secret. So Ridley is a bisexual guy, and Jubilee is questioning her identity. This is also very heavily dealing with anxiety. There are some other more intense trigger warnings as well. I will include those down in the description below. Other rep includes the fact that one of these people has 2 moms, so that's fun. I think this sounds like a lovely book, plus I'm always after more bi guys in what I'm reading. On April 28th, we have the release of Swimming in the Dark by TOMASZ Jadrowski. This is a book set in the early 1980s in Poland, and it's a male-male romance. So we have a gay Polish main character and a Jewish love interest. But another huge part of this is the growing realization that they are on opposite sides of a political divide. Additionally, this is super influenced by James Baldwin's Giovanni's Room. It's been pretty recommended by people that you read Giovanni's Room before you read Swimming in the Dark, but you can probably understand this without that. Personally, I am planning to read Giovanni's Room before I read this book, just to get the most out of it, because it is something that these two men really bond over when they initially get together. So I feel like this is going to be kind of a dark read, a kind of a difficult read, but I'm really excited to get to it. And the final April release I wanted to talk about, April 28th, we have the release of All Boys Aren't Blue by George M. Johnson. This is a memoir of George M. Johnson's life. It's also an uplifting story, a way of validating queer black boys, particularly queer black boys who are non-gender conforming. I have been dying to read this ever since it was originally sold, so I'm really hoping I can get to it before the end of 2020, and hopefully you can get to it as well. Okay, let's move on to May. There are about 1 billion releases on May 5th, so as a warning, you're about to hear that date a whole lot. First up, we have The Mermaid, the Witch, and the Sea by Maggie Dakota Hall. This is a sea adventure with a bit of magic thrown into the mix. It's about an orphan turned pirate and a rebellious imperial daughter, and them meeting and falling in love. Basically, this is about a gender-fluid black pirate falling in love with a queer Japanese noblewoman. And there's magic. It sounds like everything to me. Also on May 5th, we have Dangerous Remedy by Kat Dunn. This is the first book in a new queer fantasy series. It's about Camille, a revolutionary's daughter who leads this band of outcasts, but there is something secret about her as well, which means that both the revolutionaries and the royalists want her. So there's some kind of secret there. So we have a biracial lesbian main character in Camille. There are also gay and bi main characters. This sounds like a super diverse fantasy adventure series, and I am here for it. Next up on May 5th, we have a romance, and that is Meet Cute Club by Jack Harbin. This is about a main character named Jordan who works at a bookstore, and really what he needs is for his favorite author to release the new supernatural sexy book that he's looking for, and he needs more people to join his book club so it doesn't completely dissipate. And then one of his co-workers, who's been bugging him for reading all of these, like, grandma romances, asks to join the book club, and the two of them start to possibly fall for each other. So this has a gay man of color as our main character. It's a male-male romance. It is own voices. It sounds delightful. Also on May 5th, we have one of the biggest releases of the year as far as like queer YA goes, and that is Felix Ever After by Kaysen Callender. So this is a story about self-discovery and about a romance. It's about a trans teen named Felix who really wants to be able to fall in love, and then someone anonymous at his school starts sending him super transphobic messages after publicly posting Felix's dead name. This is about a black demi-boy, which is super exciting. As far as I know, it's the first, like, traditionally published book that has a demi-boy as a main character. Kaysen Callender is also a trans author, a queer author, and honestly, what I love most about this book is its visible queerness. We have a black trans guy on the cover of a book with visible top surgery scars, and that is such a huge moment to celebrate. I am really, really eager to read this one. Next up, we have When You Get the Chance by Tom Ryan and Robin Stevenson, also being released on May 5th, of course. This is about cousins Mark and Talia who used to go to a cottage together every summer with their families, but after a falling out, they haven't seen each other in years. So they meet up again, and it turns out they're both queer, but that's about all they have in common. And then a series of events leads them to set out on a road trip to Toronto Pride along with Mark's little sister. We have a gay main character, a sapphic main character, I'm not sure how she identifies. There's also a non-binary love interest and a bunch of other queer side characters, so this sounds like a road trip, family drama, queer feels book, which I'm into. Also May 5th, I have a book to talk about that not a lot of people knew was queer, but it is, and that is Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. This is a novel in verse, so we have Camino from the Dominican Republic. Her father visits her regularly, and then we have her half-sister, Yahara, who lives in New York, and then during one of these visits, their father dies in a plane crash, and that is how they meet. That's how they know the other exists. And what a lot of people don't know is that this has a slow burn best friends to lovers FF romance. I'm so excited. Guess what? That was the last of our May 5th releases. Yay! Let's move on to May 12th. So on May 12th, we have the release of The Henna Wars by Adiba Jaigirdar. This is a FF romance. Look at the cover, oh my god. So this is about two girls, and there is a school project to start their own businesses. Nishat, our main character, and Flavia both choose henna. So they have rival henna businesses, and they used to be friends, and Nishat has recently come out to her parents as a lesbian, but it hasn't gone well because they basically just told her that Muslims can't be lesbians, so she's dealing with that as well. So we have a lesbian Bengali Muslim main character and an Afro-Brazilian bisexual Irish love interest. This is a story set in Ireland, and I need it. I need it with every fiber of my being. Also on May 12th, I wanted to mention the release of The Boy in the Red Dress by Kristen Lambert. This is a historical fiction murder mystery YA book. It is set in 1929 in the French Quarter, which in case you don't know is in New Orleans. It's about a girl who works in her aunt's speakeasy. It's basically a queer speakeasy, and there's a murder. The main character is bisexual. There is a bisexual love triangle triangle happening. Her best friend is also a gay guy who does drag, so those are the two people on the, on the cover. But overall, this is a super queer book, and I am ready for it. Next, I want to talk about The Fascinators by Andrew Eliopoulos. This is also being released on May 12th, and it has a gay main character with potential for a male-male romance. Our main character is a guy named Sam, and then he has his best friends James and Delia. Some cracks are forming. Sam is probably in love with James. Delia is getting really frustrated with her amateur magic club. James possibly was involved in some more dark magics over the summer. So they're all headed into senior year with some issues. This has been recommended for fans of The Raven Boys, which I am. I love them, so I'm really excited to read this. Also on May 12th, we have Girl, Serpent, Thorn by Melissa Bashardust. This is about a main character named Shraya who is poisonous to the touch. It is a thing of fairy tales, but Shraya lives it. So this is a Persian-inspired setting, a Persian fairy tale, an entirely Persian cast, which is own voices representation, and we have a bisexual main character in a potential FF relationship. Also on May 12th, we have The Summer of Impossibilities by Rachel Allen. This is about 4 main characters, girls who spend a summer at the lake house together where their moms became friends. So we have a lesbian main character, as well as a Jewish bisexual main character. That is the queer rep in this book, but the other main characters include a girl who is an Indian American Muslim, as well as a Jewish girl with juvenile arthritis. So there's a lot of rep happening in this. I'm very, very eager to read it. And the final May 12th release I want to talk about is The Scapegracers by Hannah Abigail Clark. This is about a girl named Sideways who is at the bottom of her high school's hierarchy, and then she gets paid $40 to come to the popular girl's birthday party and do a magic trick. Or do some actual magic. This is about witches. And in doing so, she becomes swept up in this friendship. So queer, witchy books. If you've been watching this channel, you know that's my thing forever and ever. So Sideways is a lesbian, and she is one of our main characters. There's also a black sapphic main character, not sure what words she uses, as well as a Chinese-American bisexual main character. Moving on, the one release that's happening on May 19th that I wanted to talk about is 30 Names of Night by Zain Kadar. I can't tell you the name of the main character in this book because it is something that the main character is searching out for himself. At the beginning of this book, he sheds his birth name and comes out as a trans man and is on a journey to figure out who he is and his name. He is also investigating a mystery that ties the death of his mother to the death of this artist. Apparently both of these women saw the same rare bird recently before their deaths, so he's investigating that as well. This has a Syrian-American trans guy as a main character, all of which is own voices. It's also about him learning about the queer and specifically trans history of his own community that's been hidden. I'm really, really eager to read this one. I know I've said that about like all of these books, but seriously, this sounds amazing. On May 26th, we have the release of All My Mother's Lovers by Ilan Masad. This is about a main character named Maggie when her mother dies, and Maggie returns home very suddenly to find her family kind of in disarray. She also finds, along with her mother's will, 5 sealed letters addressed to men that Maggie has never heard of. So Maggie sets off to deliver these letters and to find out more about her mother's past now that she's dead. The main character of this book is Jewish and queer. The author of this book is a queer Israeli American. Overall, this just sounds like a really fascinating and interesting book. Also on May 26th, we have an anthology out now, Queer We Go Again, edited by Sandra Mitchell. This is a companion collection to All Out, which was an anthology of queer authors writing queer historical fiction. This is a collection that has 17 new stories by queer authors set now. Every single story is going to be queer, and this has some amazing authors attached to it. Some of my favorites, Mark Oshiro is going to be writing for this, Fox Benwell, C.B. Lee, Hilary Monahan. They're some really great names attached to this, and I loved All Out, so I'm sure I'm going to love Out now. Next, I want to talk about Stay Gold by Tobley McSmith. This is a book with a trans guy main character, and it is own voices for that rep. Basically, Pony came out as trans at his last school, and it was kind of disastrous, so he's moved to his new school, and his plan is to go stealth, to not get involved with any kind of romantic relationship, and then he meets a girl named Georgia, and they start to connect, and he has to start thinking about whether he is going to be able to come out again. And it has a gorgeous cover. Just want to say that. Moving on, also on May 26th, we have The Friend Scheme by Cale Dietrich. This is a YA twisty thriller with a male-male romance. Matt's father is basically this rich criminal, and he's hoping that Matt is going to follow in his footsteps. Right now, Matt's older brother seems poised to do that. He's smart, he's ambitious, he's got all these girls in tow, and Matt doesn't seem to be following that same path in any way. And then he meets a guy, they start to fall for each other, and more is revealed about why that might be difficult. So this has a male-male romance. Cale Dietrich writes gay YA. I didn't read his last book, The Love Interest, but I think that this one looks really fantastic, and hopefully I can jump into it. Also on May 26th, I know we have so many of these, but also on that date, we have I Kissed Alice by Anna Birch. This sounds like a delightful book. It is about two girls who are bitter enemies in real life, but close collaborators, possibly falling in love online. So we have Rhodes and Ileana, and online they are working together to create a webcomic, but in real life they are both really going after the same scholarship, and so they can't stand each other. So this is a female-female romance. We have a lesbian main character and a bisexual main character. Yay. We're getting close to the end of the 26th of May, I promise, but next we have Camp by Lev A.C. Rosen. It's about 16-year-old Randy who goes to this camp every summer for queer teens. He loves it there, but he's really into this guy who is only into a particular type of gay guy. So Randy reinvents himself. He decides he's going to be more masculine. This is a book about masculinity, about different types of presentation for gay men, about how much of yourself you're willing to give up in order to get someone that you're interested in. We have a gay main character, an entirely queer cast. I think that this is going to be digging into some issues that I'm super interested in, so I can't wait to read it. Next, on May 26th, we have Something to Talk About by Meryl Winsler, and this is Berkeley's first ever female-female romance, which I'm very excited about. I'm very pumped that this is their first one. Hopefully there will be more going forward. But this is about a Hollywood powerhouse named Jo, and she gets photographed on the red carpet making her assistant Emma laugh. And immediately all the tabloids declare them a couple, which is really bad for them, but then they start to fall for each other anyway. So this is a female-female romance. Emma is Jewish, Jo is Chinese American, and I don't know how they identify, but hopefully I'll find out when I read this. And finally, on May 26th, we have The Ship We Built by Lexi Bean. So this is a middle grade book following a trans boy, and it is own voices. It is kind of a heavy book. It's about this kid who doesn't know who he is yet, who's really afraid, and who is possibly being abused at home. And the only way that he knows how to deal with this is he writes letters and attaches them to balloons and just sends them out, hoping that maybe someone out there will understand. And then he starts getting close to another person in his class and discovering that maybe there is someone near him who he can trust. So like I said, there are some heavy themes in this book, but own voices, trans middle grade is something that is so deeply important. Any queer middle grade is important, but own voices trans rep, I absolutely always want to highlight titles like these, so thank you so much to the author for making sure that I knew about this book, and hopefully all of you are glad that you know about it now as well. Okay, let's get into June. June is Pride Month, and I'm gonna be, like, up to my ears in books to read in June. But coming out on June 1st, Queen of Coin and Whispers by Helen Corcoran. This is a fantasy book about a girl, Leah, who inherits her uncle's bankrupt, corrupt kingdom. So she decides to hire a new spy master, bring her into the fold, and it ends up being a girl named Xania. And the two of them bond over trying to find out what's going on in this kingdom, and then they start to fall for each other. This is a female-female romance in a world with super open identities. Queerness is entirely accepted, and so labels aren't used, but the author said if we wanted to use like modern day terms, Leah is a lesbian and Xania is a demisexual lesbian. Next up, on June 2nd, I wanted to talk about the release of The Dark Tide by Alicia Jasinska. So this is about a world where every year a boy is sacrificed in order to prevent this island from sinking. Lena, one of our main characters, is convinced her brother is going to be taken, so Lena declares that she will be sacrificed instead. And the Queen and Lena are going to wait out their time until the full moon comes together. And as they're waiting, they start to bond and maybe fall for each other. So we have a bi-main character. We also have a sapphic woman of color main character. Not sure on the labels for that character. But regardless, I'm very, very into this concept and this cover and everything. Also on June 2nd, we have a bit of nonfiction, and that is The Groom Will Keep His Name and Other Vows I've Made About Race, Resistance, and Romance by Matt Ortile. This is a collection of essays about being a gay Filipino immigrant to America, which is just about all I needed to know about it to know that I had to read it. And hopefully you are interested in that kind of thing as well. Next, we have another bit of new adult, also on June 2nd, and that is Conventionally Yours by Annabeth Albert. This is about two guys who are bitter enemies in the same fandom, and then circumstances happen that lead to them driving to a huge convention together. So this is a male-male romance. One of the main characters is Jewish and also neurodivergent, and both main characters are gay. Another male-male romance is also coming out on June 2nd, and that is The State of Us by Sean David Hutchinson. Sean David Hutchinson is one of my favorite writers. If you want weird SFF about queer boys dealing with mental health issues, please read more of Sean David Hutchinson. It looks like this is just going to be a contemporary, but you know what? I feel like there's somehow going to be a speculative element thrown in. That's just what I know about Sean David Hutchinson. I have my theories. This is a romance about two boys, the son of the Democratic nominee and the son of the Republican nominee, and them falling in love amidst whatever that situation is. So we have a demisexual questioning main character, as well as a gay Mexican-American main character. So very much looking forward to this. We also have You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson, which is also being released on June 2nd. This is about a black bisexual main character. Her name is Liz, and she has always known that she is going to get out of her small town in Indiana, and then plans for her scholarship fall through. Leah thinks that means like the end of her future until she remembers that the person who is crowned homecoming queen also gets a scholarship, and even though that has absolutely never been something that Liz has wanted to do, it might be her only chance to get out of Indiana. Next, also on June 2nd, we have 6 Angry Girls by Adrienne Kisner. I think my favorite thing about the back of this book is that it says knit, riot, repeat. Very into that. Love that. This is about a main character named Raina who has basically just been dumped on for the last few months. Her boyfriend dumped her, her dad treats her not super well, she's been kicked off the debate team, but then this advice columnist helps Raina find a yarn store, and Raina meets another girl who's really into knitting, and the two of them form a mock trial group to go up against the group that kicked Raina out. They knit, they smash the patriarchy, the main character is an asexual girl. I'm very into everything about this. The last book that I have for June 2nd as a release date is Where We Go From Here by Lucas Rocha. This has actually been out for a couple of years. It's just the English release date. This was originally published in Brazil, and it is in fact set in Rio de Janeiro, and it follows 3 main characters, all of whom are gay, and it is about HIV in these 3 boys' lives and how that is impacting their lives. It's also about like common misconceptions and ideas that we have of HIV still today. This has been a super hyped release. I'm so excited that we have a translation now. Thank you so much to the publisher for sending me this, and thank you to all of the publishers who send me queer books. It means the world to me. Hopefully you will check this out. I know I am going to be reading it. We are in the home stretch, I promise. So on June 9th, I wanted to talk about Spell on Wheels Volume 2, called Just to Get to You. This is a series by Kate Leth, Megan Levins, and Marissa Louise. Spell on Wheels Volume 1 is one of my favorite things in existence. I talk about it a lot. It is you're not gonna believe this, it's about queer witches. Okay, one of the witches is queer. But the first Spell on Wheels collection is about a group of 3 friends, modern-day witches, and they have to set out on a revenge road trip because one of their exes stole a book of spells that he should not have. It was super fun, super delightful, and I'm really excited to pick up into the next saga, the next collection of stories about these women. So we have an Asian sapphic main character who I love. As far as other diversity, there's also a white fat main character and a black main character. I loved the first volume. I'm sure I'm going to love the second volume. Next, on June 9th, we have You Exist Too Much by Zaina Arafat. This is literary fiction told in vignettes, set in places from the US to the Middle East, and it is about this main character growing from a blushing teen to a sought-after DJ to an aspiring writer. We have a Palestinian-American queer main character. I was excited about this book before I even found out it was queer. Like, the queerness is super ingrained in the summary of the book, but there's so much about this that interests me that I would have read it no matter what, and it's just the cherry on top that this is also a story about a queer woman. I'm really, really, really excited to read it. We're on the last page of notes. It's all happening. June 9th, still on June 9th, we have This Is All Your Fault by Amina May Safi. This is a book set over the course of one day, and it is about 3 young women fighting to save their indie bookstore. Honestly, people have been pretty tight-lipped about the rep in this book. I am really, really trying to figure out the exact rep, and I haven't been able to yet. From the digging I've been able to do, one of the main characters is a queer girl, because at one point she mentions having had a girlfriend. There's also at least one main character of color, I believe more than one. But I live for Amina May Safi now, so I'm going to read this, and when I read it, I will tell you more, because I guarantee that I'm going to read it. And I just found out that the release was moved until October. Okay, let's keep on a plug-in. Next we have The Falling in Love montage by Sierra Smith. This is coming out on June 9th as of this moment. The Falling in Love montage is a lesbian rom-com. It is about a main character named Saoirse who is absolutely not interested in romance. She doesn't have time for it, and then she thinks about breaking her rules for this one girl, Ruby. And in order to not break Saoirse's rule book, Ruby proposes that they can have one fun summer together, and Ruby decides to put her rom-com obsessed heart to the test, and she creates this entire summer of romance for the 2 of them. The sapphics have not recovered from the cover of this book, and I don't think we ever will recover. When it was announced, we all lost our collective minds. The one gay brain cell was just like, look at the cover of this book. And I think that's gonna be the mood forever. On June 16th, we have the release of I'll Be the One by Lila Lee. This is about a girl named Sky who is determined to be the next K-pop star, despite being told over and over again that who she is not fit for K-pop. But she enters a televised competition to become the next big K-pop star and is swept up into that drama, into that life. This has a bisexual fat Korean American main character, and the cover is rainbow glorious. It's so cute. I love it. Also on June 16th, we have The Circus Rose by Betsy Cornwell. This is a queer retelling of Snow White and Rose Red. This is about twins who are part of a circus family, and it is about them fighting evil religious extremists to keep their family and their home. We have a lesbian main character and a bisexual main character. There's also a ton of side queer rep. There is a sapphic love interest, there's also a non-binary love interest, and a ton of other queer rep besides that. There's side polyamorous rep. So this is a circus family story, but it's also about battling religious extremists, which I'm very into. Ultimately, this sounds great. Second to last, on June 22nd, we have Her Lady's Honor by Renee Dahlia. This is about Lady Eleanor, who served in the Great War as a veterinarian, and she is, after the end of the war, coming back to her captain's family to return his beloved horse. And then Nell meets the captain's eldest daughter, and romance blooms. I don't know about identities for either of these two main characters, I just know that it is a FF historical romance, and I'm slowly getting into romance little by little, so I'm very interested in this one. And finally, we have made it to the end of this list. On June 23rd, we have The Order of the Pure Moon Reflected in Water by Zen Cho. Oh my god, I just remembered that name. I remember the whole book title. This is a good day. This is a wuxia-inspired found family novella. It's about a bandit walking into a coffee house, it's about a group of thieves, and it is about epic martial arts battles and a history of heroes. I don't know, there's a lot going on, and this is a novella, but I am extremely excited to read this. The whole thing is set in a Chinese-inspired setting, so all of the main characters are Chinese as well. One of the main characters is non-binary. There are also a ton of other queer side characters. I live for Tor's novellas. You know this if you watched my last queer releases video, so I'm gonna be reading this. I will read any queer novella that Tor publishes. It's who I am as a person. Okay, all, thank you so much for watching. If you watched this entire video, I really did everything I could to wrap up these books as quickly as possible to make sure that you knew about at least 50 queer releases happening. If there are books I am missing, and I know that there are, I know for a fact that there are, please leave them in the comments below so more people can find out titles. Like I said, check the description of this video if you want more resources. Please let me know what your most anticipated queer release is for these 3 months. Whether or not I listed it in this video, just tell me about it. Other than that, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye!